What if the most pivotal moments in history left more than just records behind? They left spirits. Welcome back to The Common Historian, where history meets the supernatural. I'm Jeremy, and each week we explore the haunting intersections between our past and the paranormal. Tonight, I'm joined by Jeremy Cotter, paranormal investigator and host of the brand new podcast, Twisted Tales, on All Access Television. We're diving into Massachusetts' darkest haunted histories, from the Salem witch trials to the Lizzie Borden House to the USS Salem. So grab your favorite beverage, dim the lights, and prepare to journey into the world where history refuses to stay buried. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, thank you very much, man. I'm looking forward to being on here this evening, man. It's definitely been a cold one up here in New England, that's for sure.
It's supposed to be even worse. At least for us, for where I am in northern New York.
Oh, wow, you're up there. Ooh,
Yeah,
that's out up there.
I'm about an hour from Montreal, so
Okay.
and I'm seeing it's gonna be like 30 below with the wind. So gonna
I
be
don't
a
even think
cold
it
one.
goes on that kind of cold. Nope.
Yeah. I'm very much ready for spring.
I've been ready for about 3 weeks now, and it keeps getting worse.
Congratulations on launching your Twisted Tales on All Access Television.
Thank you very much.
What inspired you to start the podcast?
So I didn't realize it, but I really enjoy the whole podcasting genre in itself. Like I was guest on several different shows, from like paranormal to horror to a different wrestling podcast to pop culture. I've done a gamut of guest appearances on just about anything you could possibly think of. And then I really wanted to get more involved in it because I was just enjoying it a lot. I liked going on and talking to people because I just love talking to people. So one day I was in Salem at Salem Con last year, and I talked to the producer for All Access, Gwen, and she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. Does a lot of work for very many people.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe I could be a co-host for somebody needed a co-host. That way I could, have some fun, go on, talk to people and all of that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And then she's like, well, why don't you do your own show? I'm like, and I like pumped the brakes for a second. I'm like, how about we just talk about possibly being a co-host and maybe something like that? So about a week or two later, we started corresponding back and forth, and she's like, so when are we going to get the show started? I'm like, well, okay, January. She's like, okay, well, how about Wednesdays at 9:30? I'm like, sure. She was okay, pick a date to start. I'm like, this is going so fast. And I'm like, okay, we'll start on the 21st. I'm like, okay. And then next thing I know, it went from concept to reality in a blink of an eye. And then I had my very first guest, which was Nathaniel, a great guy, very, very intelligent, has his own show, Paranormal Unveiled. And, everything came together. Like Gwen came up with the graphic for the show, which I love the graphic, the skull and the bright colors and all of that. And a great good friend of mine, Danny Radical from the Radicals, he actually came up with the theme music. So I'm sure you've heard the theme music for the intro. That's actually his. He actually created that for me just for the show. So I have custom theme music for the intro for my show, which is amazing. I'm like, all these people did this. And just a little bit of background on it. I'll tell you, the whole week before I started the show, I was having an anxiety bomb, like anything you could ever imagine. The left side of my brain's like, this is going to be a great idea. We're going to go on, we're going to have fun. The right side of my brain's like, I think we should run away and hide. And it was a battle back and forth because you never know. You could get in front of a live camera and have your own show, and next thing you know, you're like, and you just want you just want to close the computer or shut your phone off and go just cry yourself to sleep in the corner. And, I'm just honest, so whatever comes out of my mouth, it's just me being raw because that's who I am. And the first episode went great, and then last week I had a couple of horror actors from the Spooky World theme park on last week, so that was really cool too. I have a lot of great guests coming up, and I'm still looking to book out for the rest of the time. And it's been an amazing experience working with Triana and all of the great people in All Access. I'm telling you, I would never have done this if it wasn't for this group of people that I joined with. They have been so supportive. They have been, so kind, and Gwen goes above and beyond anything she has to put up with my crazy anxiety ridden ass sometimes. But no. And so that's where we are today. I mean, I have my backdrop behind me. I'm actually working on getting a custom backdrop with the logo on it to put behind me to make it pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And I've watched both of the first 2 episodes. I think when this airs, you'll be going that night on episode 4.
Yeah, I believe so.
I've actually this week I started blocking out my Wednesdays from 8 to 10 because I like to watch Nate's show, and then I get a little break, and then it's your show. So
it's a great back to back, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's two really interesting shows there.
I actually blocked it out so I don't do interviews on Wednesday nights now.
That's awesome, man. I've been able to catch a bunch of clips from yours because you have it all clipped out and it pops up on all sorts of my different feeds and stuff like that. You've had a lot of great interviews. I definitely.
Oh, I've had some great guests. There's more great ones coming up too. What can we expect from your show upcoming?
So the reason I called it Twisted Tales is because it can go in any direction it wants. And it doesn't have to adhere to the normal standards of being a paranormal show or a horror show. Like I said before, I'm dealing with guests from wrestling and possibly pop culture. I'm working on some stuff to do like Marvel and DC kind of stuff and have roundtable conversations about different things like that. And I want it to be a show where people can come on and be elevated, whether they're artisans who make things or whether if they're psychic mediums or paranormal groups or people who work at haunted locations or investigators. It's a show where, Twisted Tales just means it can go in any direction that it wants and it doesn't have to go on a linear path. That was the basic idea for the name of the show.
Yeah.
Getting people stories about, and, it's just, to me, it's a great idea because I go all over the place anyway. Mentally, I don't stick with a normal thing. So why should the show do that too? I figure the show might as well follow a path,
I kind of structured, the Common Historian that way too, because I explore the supernatural, but I also, at first I was just going to do just like the paranormal. And then, I've gotten into the cryptids. I was talking Jack the Ripper and some dark history.
And you're talking my language.
So
Jack the Ripper, H.H. Holmes,
some of my past episodes, Dr. Carroll came on. We talked about kind of some of his theories on Jack the Ripper. And that was one of my best view-rated shows that I've had.
That's awesome, man. I love all of that kind of stuff. I'm a huge horror fan, so that definitely takes a big play into it as well. My wife and I have been paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, whatever you want to call it, for about 14 years or so. So it's like we've been to many places, especially around this area, up in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and places like that, as well as Eastern State Penitentiary. That was a fun place to go. The best part about the paranormal is there's just so many places that you can explore. And I'm hoping that someday get to some of the ones that are on my bucket list, but we'll see.
But, I think it's always good to, kind of put your show where, like you said, kind of go different ways, and not just stuck in the one genre.
Right.
And that's just right up my alley as well, because, if you have any wrestlers on there, big wrestling fan. One side note, it kind of took me off guard for a minute. I had to make sure it wasn't a fake account. On Facebook, out of the blue, Tommy Rich friend requested me.
Really?
If you go on my Facebook, it's his.
He's working for NWA these days.
Yeah, and he friend requested me. I was like, sure.
Why not? Maybe you can get Tommy Rich on your show. That'd be kind of cool to talk to.
I haven't messaged him or anything, but it would be kind of cool. It's a little outside of my paranormal and supernatural, but it still was, if I had the chance, I would get him on.
Right. But your show is called The Common Historian. Who else to get the history of professional wrestling from?
Yeah,
he's been wrestling since the mid-'70s. And he still does matches once in a while nowadays in 2026.
Yeah.
If anybody can give you the history of the sport of professional wrestling, maybe some of the more on the darker side of it, definitely would be Tommy. That's for sure.
Yeah, true. I was thinking about that, but now that I think about it, I'm probably going to reach out to him.
You know what? When somebody opens up the avenue or the channel to do so, it's a great idea to just go ahead and go with it, because you never know. I mean, if he says no, then no big deal.
Yeah.
But if you have, on the off chance that he says yes,
Yeah.
He's a well-known figure in the entire genre of professional wrestling, and
Yeah.
he was like one of the hottest babyface good guys back in the early 80s. I mean, he was up on par level wise for a little bit with when Hulk Hogan was in his prime as a good guy. Tommy Rich was like the biggest good guy in the South back in like 82, 83.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge, just a little bit of knowledge about wrestling.
The funny thing is, when he sent me the friend request, I was like, I wrote to my cousin Adam, and he does some indie, he refs, and he does occasion some wrestling as well. I think he does Massachusetts, Vermont, and Quebec. And I was like, hey, if I send you this link, can you let me know if this is the legit Tommy Rich? And he was like, yeah, I can look. He says, that's strange that he just ran. I said, I know I liked a few of his posts and stuff. He was like, yeah, it looks legit. He says, I've never met him, but
the best way to find out is if you message him and try to get him to come on your show.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do that. But I just thought you'd appreciate that. I figured
absolutely. Another thing we were talking about how, like, you have to deal with cryptids and not just the ghosts part of the paranormal. Yeah. I consider all of it paranormal, like ghosts, the Bigfoot, the aliens. I mean, it's all part of the paranormal umbrella. It's just different. It's just different avenues. And if you talk to some people, it's all connected.
Yeah, they have different. There's different theories out there.
Oh dear God! I mean, the theories go a mile long, and that's what they are. They're basically theories.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I think that they're all pretty much connected overall. And if you go to some of these cons, the horror and even wrestling are kind of lumped into it too a lot of times.
Wait, you'll see wrestlers like in Gettysburg, Gene Snitsky, the wrestler Gene Snitsky he's an annual guy. He was there every year. One of the Samoans, Lance Anawahi, I know he makes appearances at Gettysburg all the time.
Yeah.
Wrestlers, there have been many wrestlers who have been on paranormal shows like Ghost Hunters, or Ghost Adventures, or Paranormal State. There have been guest appearances from WWF guys or whatever, WWE guys for the other part of it, but they've been making guest appearances on these type of shows for a long time. Actually, there were some of the divas, or I shouldn't say divas, some of the lady wrestlers recently who were doing all sorts of paranormal stuff on YouTube. Shotzi Blackheart and her and some other girl, they were doing all sorts of live ghost hunting with other wrestlers in locations, and it was a whole YouTube series based off of that. So wrestling is involved with the paranormal, whether you want,
I was a huge Undertaker fan. Absolutely love the Wyatt Six.
Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt.
Yes. He was actually one of my favorite wrestlers when he was doing the Fiend. I love the Fiend.
He was a great character. Kind of, unfortunately, he got his big push during the pandemic part of professional wrestling, which is almost like a black mark on the one thing I will say about it. It was hard to watch with all those little screens in the background or the empty arenas.
I stopped watching.
I didn't because there wasn't anything else to freaking watch.
I couldn't watch it. I tried and I just couldn't do it.
I watched just to see what kind of weird things with the screens and whatnot. But I mean, some guys got their big breaks during this thing, like Drew McIntyre. That's when he got his push. He wins the Royal Rumble in front of a live crowd. 2 months later, WrestleMania, the world is shut down. He has to fight Brock Lesnar in an empty building with like 6 people in it because they'll only be allowed 6 feet apart with all the COVID things. And oh God, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to that line of thinking. I don't mind taking it down a different rabbit hole, but not down the COVID rabbit hole because I work at a hospital in food services.
Yeah.
And I worked all the way through the Delta. I mean, I've been there since 2021. So I dealt with the whole Delta variant, Omicron, and all the other things like that. So yeah, that whole COVID nightmare. I don't want to remember those 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, right. They were quite forgettable. It's not something you want to go back to.
Oh God.
I guess we've probably advertised, but we've been on the wrestling kick for a few minutes here.
Okay.
Move to some of the Massachusetts history. We can always come back to wrestling after too.
We can talk about whatever. I'm wide open for anything. Like I said, I'm all over the place. So
So there's so much tragedy in Massachusetts history between the colonial tragedies and industrial disasters and, of course, infamous murders. As someone who's investigated quite a bit in the state, what makes Massachusetts paranormal activity unique compared to other regions?
I think, well, obviously, this is one of the oldest regions in the country as far as going back to Plymouth and Plymouth Rock, all of the Salem and the Salem witch trials, which I'm definitely not a expert on that. I have friends who are definitely experts and
Yeah.
have written many books on the Salem witch trials. But it's weird because if you think about it, in this entire country, there's nowhere you can walk that blood has not been spilled. Whether it was Native American blood, whether it was blood from all the wars and the conflicts, or just in general. And anywhere you go, the earth is just full of energy, and some places are more than others. Like my personal favorites, I mean, Salem is great with like the houses having gables. And I love walking through the cemeteries up there because you can just feel the energy. You
Oh,
can
you're another one that goes, cemeteries are tourist attractions for me when I go places.
oh, being a clairvoyant, I like to connect with spirits, wherever they are, whether they're in somebody's house or at a location or even, wandering through like the cemeteries or even on the streets. Salem, no matter where you go, the energy is just different than just about anywhere else. I mean, I felt a little bit of it a few years ago when we were in Sleepy Hollow. We went out to sleep. My wife and I went to a convention up in Sleepy Hollow, and you walk around a little bit and you can get a little bit of feel from it there too. But to me, what's that?
I went there not last year, the year before. The cemetery is very
Wow.
yeah.
That thing is so big.
I don't even think I saw it all.
We drove around it as much as we could drive around it, and it still took 45 minutes worth of driving. I can imagine like spending a day and walking in there and sitting and stuff like that. Some of my favorite places in Massachusetts are like the USS Salem. I've had profound experiences in the USS Salem. I've actually channeled spirits inside the USS Salem with some good friends of mine. Thankfully, they were there to help monitor the situation.
Yeah.
But I would put just about anybody's stuff up against Massachusetts because, I mean, I'm sure. No, you're out of what, Ohio? Is that what you're?
No, I'm in northern New York.
I'm sorry, you're not in New York. You have tons of things in New York. I mean, I want to go to other states and see what they have. I mean, I'd love to check out like Trans-Allegheny. I've heard some interesting things about that place.
Wildwood. I'm heading there in May.
Wildwood Santarium. We did that a couple of years, about a year and a half ago. We did the Wildwood and the Hinsdale in the same weekend.
Oh, nice.
Now there's a 1-2 punch.
I'm going there in May.
Hinsdale is unlike anything I have ever felt in my entire life.
Wow.
The minute you walk in there, eyeballs are on you and you know it. You feel it.
Yeah.
That house is unbelievably strong.
It's another place that's on my list, but yeah, I'll be doing my first ever investigation at the Wildwood May 16th. So
this is gonna be your first investigation?
Yeah, I'm going with the Misfits Paranormal crew. We're headed there on a Saturday night, and I'm probably going to do a little TikTok living. I have a couple things planned, and I'm going with basically my phone and my camcorder. I don't have much equipment. So
honestly, Jeremy, you don't need a lot of equipment. I've seen people who have tons of stuff, whether it's REM pods or portal boxes or this and that, all the beautiful lights is shining and all that kind of stuff. But I don't need anything. I like to use my dowsing rods or my pendulums and my natural stuff and record. You can even use your cell phone and just hit record on a video record, do like the round robin questions, and then play it back. And I've heard some amazing captures on just a cell phone recording.
Yeah.
So you don't need all the expensive stuff to monitor degree temperatures.
Well, I know the Misfits do have. I know I think they use dowsing rods. I think one of them does, and they have like the cat balls, and I think they have a REM pod. You know, they have some of the stuff.
I think this stuff is cool. I don't have that kind of stuff because when I found out that I'm able to connect without it,
Yeah,
I'm like, why should I invest in it? You
yeah,
know, if I don't need it. Plus, a lot of times people bring all sorts of equipment, so you just hang around with the people who have the equipment, and then you get answers, and you have it verified through other people's equipment or stuff. Now, if you want, I can tell you one of the craziest experiences I ever had with a REM pod. It was on the USS Salem. It was on my birthday several years ago. The people who run the USS Salem asked me to come down and help out with an investigation on my birthday. So I grabbed my buddy who's never been on a ghost hunt in his life, and we went down to the USS Salem. We go on board, do the pre-walk around like I normally do to get the feels for where the energies are on the ship at the time. And I love to go in blind on places. I don't want to have any of the history of who's there
yeah.
because they might not be who connects with me. I might be somebody who is a spirit guide for somebody who's hanging around, or I might connect. I don't know who I'm going to connect with or what. And I like
Yeah.
to go in blind, and I like to do those kind of things like that. So we were in the Salem. We were in the CPO, the officers mess hall. We were sitting there, and there was a bunch of people in the room. Somebody had to put a REM pod down near the door, right? And my buddy, being just obnoxiously funny, he's like, "Hey, this is birthday today." And I'm not kidding you. The thing toned out "Happy Birthday."
Wow.
It did the do 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 do, and I'm like, What? That was nuts. And there were like 20 witnesses that saw that. I'm like, did anybody else hear that? They're like, yeah, it's your birthday. I'm like, yes, it is. And now the ghosts know it too. And I've never seen anything happen before. I didn't think it was possible that you could tone out like that. Because
Yeah.
there's only like 4 different tones when the light comes on, but it did it, and I was like, wow, that was crazy. That's my favorite interaction with a REM pod that I've ever seen.
Wow, that is kind of cool because you can't really, you know, it wouldn't be a coincidence because he said it and they responded. So it's really, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, the USS Salem itself is an amazing, amazing location. If you ever have the chance to ever go on and explore that ship, I definitely think you should, because
Well, Salem's on my bucket list. I've never been.
I've been on that ship probably, I don't know, at least 6 or 7 times that I can think of, maybe more. I'm not even sure, but I definitely a handful of times. I've been on there with a couple of demonologists. My friend James Anito, who I'm really close friends with.
He'll actually be on my show a couple weeks after this episode.
And then his partner at the time was Carl Johnson. I'm sure you've heard of Carl Johnson.
Yeah.
And they were doing an event on the ship, and they asked me to come down. And they wanted to use me as a conduit to talk to see if I could channel some spirits. And I channeled a very strong spirit. It was something more than just a regular human. And this thing latched on to me because I opened up the channels to allow it to talk. I had a friend of mine sitting next to me, a big guy like me, and the energy that was coursing through me onto the table almost knocked him out of his chair. And and that was crazy,
That is crazy. Salem in general, it's on my bucket list. And another place I really would like to go in Massachusetts, well, Lizzie Borden, of course. A place that people don't talk about, I think, is Plymouth. It's rooted in history.
The church in Plymouth.
Yeah,
there's actually 2 of them, but the actual graveyard, the cemetery, that's next to the brick church. I'm having a hard time drawing the name off of it.
I can't think of it either.
It is that's an amazing place to walk through. I mean, you can actually, at certain times, if you're in tune, you can actually see the spirits walking around in that place.
Wow. I imagine. I get feelings but I don't see or anything. I can sense. I lived in a haunted house for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I can sense when there's something. And, I get my chest gets really I feel like really, if it's oppressive, it's almost like I can't breathe. The last time I got that was actually, I went into, have you went to Wilson's Castle?
Yes.
The pink room.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what the official name of it is. I call it the pink room. The closet there. My daughter, she wouldn't go in. And she was like, I want a picture of it. And I went in there and like I took the picture, but it was like very, very heavy. Almost like, it was like pressing down on my chest and throat.
Yes.
I couldn't stay in there long in that room. Like the room itself was fine. It was the closet itself was very heavy. And even the room, once I walked out of the room, I was perfectly fine. But like I said, I don't consider myself like, anything. I just think maybe sensitive.
Well, you know what? You're showing common empathic behaviors, like feeling things or possibly sensing things. To give you a little bit of backstory on me and how I became or got to where I'm at is like, I used to be a cynic, or I would say definitely skeptical with a cynic edge to it. My wife was like huge into all the TV shows, whether it's like ghost hunters or whatnot. I used to make fun of the shows. I'm like, this is all BS. Right? I never wanted to believe in any of it, And then one day she's like, well, I think we should go to an investigation. It's at a place in Western Massachusetts called the S.K. Pierce Haunted Mansion. It's a Victorian mansion.
I know that. Yep.
Okay. My favorite place, it's one of my favorite places to be, is the S.K. Pierce. So this was a long time ago now. And we were at this place and we were getting ready to do like one of those walkthroughs before the investigation. They take you around, they show you the tour of the place. Yeah. And, me being me, I don't stick with a tour. I go off on my own. I always freelance just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I walked into this one room that they call the nursery. I had like this like small crib and a dresser and whatnot. And all of a sudden, this black mass comes out from the side of where the mirror was. It blocked out part of the window and the street light. And then it went and just disappeared. Wow. Now, me being involved in sports entertainment for a long time, I'm sitting there going, okay, how they do this? Where's the mirror? Where's the smoke machine? Where's the projector? I'm like looking for ways to explain this, because to be honest with you, I know how some tricks work. So I'm like looking around like, okay, where's the projector? Where's the smoke machine? Nothing. And then I met up with my wife a little bit later on the tour, and she's like, you okay? I go, I think I saw something, and I didn't expect it. And then, ever since then, like every time we would go somewhere, something new would happen for me. Like I'd start sensing that they're around, like you are with the empathic, or then I wouldn't just sense them. I could start to like smell phantom, like if the spirit had smoked like cigars, or if there was perfume, I can pick up on those things, And then it got to the point where they started showing themselves in like black, shadowy forms. And then it got to the point where they were actually coming in detailed. Like they would actually shed the shadow and show themselves to me.
Oh.
And that part was trippy. I couldn't believe it. I had my very first channeling experience at the Murdoch Whitney Center, which is also the Winchendon Historical Society, right next to Gardner, where the S.K. Pierce is. They're pretty much like a couple towns over from each other out in Western Mass. Yeah. But this place is called the Murdoch Whitney, and they have a subsequent across the street called the Isaac Morse, which is they have like all these old school rocking horses and old school wooden toys, because that's the area where they created wooden toys back in the old days and stuff like that. And those two places were extremely, extremely active. I've heard ghosts running down the hallway. You can hear doors slamming. It's kind of cool. But I had my very first channeling experience at that particular place, in Murdoch Whitney. I channeled a guy who was back in the 1800s, and apparently he thought my wife was his lost love from back in the old school days. And I was talking to her like I'm talking to you, but I wasn't there. I was in a different reality at the time. And then when I came back, she's like, what's going on? I go, I don't know where I am. She had the recording for a long time. She never even let me hear it, because I guess my mannerisms changed, my vocal range changed, everything was different. So then I'm like, oh, wow, there's a new skill. I can actually channel people. But when I found out that I was actually a clairvoyant at the Conjuring House, actually.
Oh,
At one point in the investigation, Andrea Perrin came on a Zoom call and she was talking to people about the home and whatnot and so forth. And then after she got off the phone, the woman who was running the event, everybody was standing around. She had everybody introduce themselves, and it got to me. I go, "Hi, I'm Jeremy, and I can see spirits and I can talk to them." And the woman was like, "Why don't you tell them what you are?" I go, "What do you mean what I am?" She goes, "You're a clairvoyant." I'm like, "I am." And then the light kicked on and I embraced it.
yeah.
I didn't move away from it. I embraced it. Every time I go to an investigation, I open myself up through meditation so I can receive message from anybody who wants to speak at the locations. And it has been amazing experience after experience after experience,
Yeah.
because I allow the channel to be open. I don't shut myself down. I don't guard myself from it. I'll ground at the end and do the best I can. Sometimes I stay open way too long, but that's just
Yeah.
the way things work.
Yeah. The house I live in now, the house itself, I don't think it's haunted. The only thing I've seen since I've lived here for 3 years, one day I looked out the window and I saw a man walking out of a garage, and it was an older man. He disappeared. Haven't seen him since, but
Wow. It's amazing sometimes what you'll just catch in your peripherals.
the only other paranormal experience I had in this house, at least, is I think I've told a couple of people the story on the show here, but normally before I do an interview, I will go put my dogs away. I put them in their kennels till the interview's done because they like to randomly bark
Yeah.
uncontrollably. So I went up the stairs. It was when I first started doing the podcast. I was interviewing Heather from the Greystone Manor, one of the owners of the Greystone Manor.
Okay.
And I went up the stairs. I was walking by there's a bathroom upstairs. It's a little small bathroom. And just out of the corner, I saw a full shadow figure in the bathroom. But when I looked the second time, it was gone. But I know what I saw. It was a full shadow figure. It was only like maybe 2 feet away from me.
Wow.
And so I went and put the dogs away. I went back and I looked again because, of course, and I didn't have much time. So I came downstairs, but I mentioned it to Heather, and she was like, I think it was after the show. And she was like, "Oh, it was probably just my spirits seem to like to check on when I do these podcasts.
Yeah.
They like to check on who's doing it. It was probably just one of mine," she says. It probably was because I haven't seen it since. But that was my first experience doing these
Right.
podcasts. And I didn't realize that, sometimes depending on who you're interviewing, you might have people checking in on you.
No, it's true. I mean, if you realize that we're always surrounded by the generations that have passed before us, and you accept the fact that we are, the whole multiple timelines have gone since even before us. I mean, it's a proven fact, but you've seen all of the unburying of devices that they don't even know how they work and that have been buried deep into the ground, and the fact that they still really can't explain the pyramids, or they can't explain the 3 or 4 different Stonehenges that all line up within each other. It's amazing to me. It's like the heads on Easter Island, and I like to talk about bizarre stuff, but that's one that definitely. Now, the heads on Easter Island, those have full bodies with weapons that are buried deep into the earth. And at one point, if you think about it, those were on land. How long ago? We don't know. Complex boxes, like when I used to go to the gym, on one TV would be the History Channel, and on the other TV would be the Travel Channel. Then I'd put myself on the machine right between the two of them. So when one's on commercial, I could flip flop back and forth and watch. And it was either Travel and History, or it was History and Discovery. But they were talking about one time they showed this box. It had like gears and all sorts of weird stuff on it, and they couldn't quite date it properly, but they couldn't figure out what it was for. And it goes to show you that timeline before ours of people that that were highly intelligent if they made a box of this nature. And just like all the intricacies inside of all the pyramids, we have no idea what's really in those things because nobody's allowed to even go in them, you know?
Yeah, I think isn't there like some of the hieroglyphics almost look like that they have like some of them have cell phones and stuff like that.
I think you're right.
I imagine in the future we'll figure out time travel.
No, and the one weird thing, I don't know, it's going off the rails on a craziness here, but what they call the giant pictures that they trace into the earth, whether there's like rock formations or some kind of glyph or something like that, where you can see them so you can see them from space, and you can see all the different animals and all the different. I'm sure you've seen them. What is the point of that?
Yeah.
Who are we supposed to be communicating with? Because you can't see it from ground level. This is stuff that you have to see when you're up high and you're flying overhead, and you look down and you see all these patterns carved in the fields and in the deserts and even in shallow parts of the ocean, and you can actually see those particular shapes and stuff like that. And you wonder to yourself, why are they there?
Yeah.
You can't see them from down on the ground level. You have to be flying. Well, these things predated airplanes and things like that. So who are we communicating with up high with these symbols on the ground? You know?
Yeah.
And to me, that I find that fascinating.
Oh, me too. It's an ancient mystery.
I know. And we're never really going to find out all the answers. It's like, how else do you explain Sasquatch being as big as they are and being able to hide in plain sight? They have the best cloaking ability that you've ever seen in your entire life. And the military would love to have this kind of cloaking ability that these things have. Well, let's be honest. I mean, it's truly amazing to me, the things that, I mean, and then we had videos of the UFOs, and the government finally had to acknowledge that they existed. Remember that when that happened a couple of years ago, when they actually had the real footage up in the sky?
Yeah.
They couldn't deny it anymore. They couldn't deny it anymore. We'd be fools to think that that's the first time that they've flown into our airspace.
Yeah.
But
it's a lot of mysteries out there.
I think it all comes down to the fact that we're never truly supposed to know the answers.
Yeah.
Especially with the paranormal. I mean, with everybody who says, they're an expert of this or they're an expert of that, you're not really.
Yeah.
I don't even think we've hit the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the paranormal and the understanding of all of that. I think that we find interest in it and we're trying to learn, but then every time you think you learn something else happens that just disproves or changes the way that people think about the paranormal.
Yeah.
In my mind.
And there's a lot of places on Earth that, especially like the oceans, we haven't explored everything.
You don't want to go down there. You definitely don't want to go down there. I think there's some stuff going on that we're just not supposed to know.
Yeah. Honestly. And then I think that there is some forests as well, either the deep rainforests or the Adirondacks. That's where I live. I just live outside the Adirondacks, and that's a huge forest. It's mostly rural through there, and it's thick, really thick brush, and who knows what's in there. Bigfoot a lot of times is reported in the Adirondacks, and there's a lot of disappearances in there too.
Bigfoot doesn't want to be found because they don't think mankind could handle it if they actually interacted with them. Honestly, I mean, these are creatures that obviously are highly intelligent beings. I shouldn't say creatures, beings, because I feel that they're all tied in with aliens and spirits and things like that nature. It's become more and more prevalent to me that everything is intertwined.
Yeah.
And if you ever saw a Yeti or a Bigfoot up close, you'd probably scream and run in the other direction as fast as you can, because we're talking about a being that the small ones are bigger than an average sized human, let alone a full-grown adult, which is known to be 8-9 feet tall, possibly more, depending on what it feels like showing itself to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly an amazing world that we live in, where they're finding more and more discoveries every single day.
Maybe we should probably tilt back into the Massachusetts history a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love going down those rabbit holes.
Right.
There's so much ancient history, or Bigfoot really does fascinate me. We'll switch gears to Massachusetts, kind of paranormal. Have you been to the
No.
Lizzie Borden house or
Yeah.
investigated it?
My wife and I have actually investigated the Lizzie Borden house a few times. I've done probably 3 or 4 times we've been to Lizzie Borden's. Different experiences every single time that we've been there. We've interacted with like Mr. Borden. We've interacted not necessarily with Lizzie. I don't think I've actually had any direct conversation with her. Interacted with one of the maid staff that lived up on the 3rd floor, because my wife and I actually stayed in that room the very first time that we stayed there. And then we stayed in one of the middle rooms the second time we stayed overnight there, and that was kind of wonky. It wasn't as overall spooky as the maid's room, because my wife wouldn't even let us turn the light off. We had to actually just it was like 2:00 in the morning. We're laying in the bed watching the Lizzie Borden movie with Elizabeth Montgomery, Lizzie Borden, in the room, because my wife refuses to go to sleep, and with the light on. I'm like, oh, I'm not sleeping with a light on. This is gonna be ridiculous. But like, we were in the room that there were toys where the kids interacted. That's the place that I saw my first actual like portal, like actual like. It was weird. They were doing this was very early on in our investigation lives, and they were doing table tipping in the parlor. It was the 2 women who were co-running the event, and somebody else was doing table tipping. And I went downstairs to get a drink out of the kitchen because I was thirsty. And I walked over and I looked in the parlor. And I'm like, nope, not going in there. You can see a cone of red light in the middle of the room, like encompassing, like I saw it encompassing the table tip table. And I could see a shadow figure of a man. I think it was Mr. Borden in the corner, and he was not happy because they were doing, well, you know what? They were doing things that he would find offensive.
Yeah.
Like table tipping, or like say people use like a Ouija board, and they don't care for that particular line of investigations.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about people who were alive a long time ago. But that place is amazing. I really enjoyed going there. I've been touched. I've had voices in my ear. I had a book come off one of the shelves in the bedroom and almost hit me. It was a paperback book. It's not like it was going to do any real damage, but it was just kind of funny that it kind of like popped off the shelf when we were talking about Lizzie and her sister, and we were standing in their room when they were younger and stuff like that. So, the Lizzie Borden is quite an amazing place. I mean, I know that we haven't been there in a few years, and I'm not a big fan of how that's been commercialized, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever owns it can do whatever they want with it, and obviously, as long as they try to keep the general part of it intact, I can appreciate that. But I don't like a lot of commercialized things in the locations, like axe throwing and whatever they feel like doing. That's not my thing, because I think an entertainment company had purchased the property at some point.
Possibly. I'm not 100%, but I think maybe.
No, and I mean, like you said, the Lizzie Borden's great, and around the Conjuring House, obviously.
Oh yeah, everybody's heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, but I've investigated there. I actually had communications with an elemental spirit in the library at the Conjuring House. At least it came off as such, because it was so powerful, and it was so like direct, and it didn't have any emotion when it was actually talking. So it was just like, like, why are you here? It was weird. You could feel the energy in the room just change. That one was cool, because there was one night we were there, and all of a sudden all the lights started flickering off and on, like in the library and in the living room adjacent. It seemed like, it felt like it was like a disco party with all the lights going off and on, and nobody was doing it. The house actually did it. The house was talking to us with it. It was it was definitely neat.
I'm really hoping that that all works out and they can get that back up and going. And
I've tried to follow it as much as I can.
yeah,
As long as whomever ends up with the place takes care of it and it doesn't get turned into, something else. I fear that when somebody buys a property, they're gonna bulldoze it because it happens.
well, yeah, that's what I'd be afraid of that. I would want to see it preserved because it is, regardless of, if some people don't believe that there's paranormal there, regardless, it's an old house. And,
Well, if you think about how many houses have been built on former graveyards where they bulldoze them over and try to remove as many bodies as possible and relocate them, but there are still people who are in the ground in these
yeah,
areas, and that's sometimes when you get like spirits in houses, and you don't understand why. It's not the house is haunted; it's the ground that it's on.
yeah,
Honestly, I mean,
yeah.
there are some houses that you can go to where they are actually built on old, like Native American burial grounds, and you can feel it when you go in there. And as being part Native American, like I am, it bothers me a lot
Yeah.
that that you get that people that the culture has been lost to a lot of people.
Yeah. And there's so many of the older houses, even if that are paranormal active or not, that are
Yeah.
being just bulldozed and put something else there.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
Lizzie Borden's adult home, Maplecroft.
Yeah.
We were actually lucky enough to be one of the last people to ever investigate Maplecroft
Oh,
because we went in. Some people were doing some filming, and they wanted us to come in and do some investigating. And that place had a lot of energy, but somebody had bought it and turned it into a private residence. So it has, ever since we were in there, nobody's ever gone back in for investigations because it was turned into a private residence. At least as far as I know. In the last couple of years, it could be different, but
yeah.
when we were there, we were told that we were like, well, they can be the last people to be in there investigating it because the people who purchased it wanted to turn it into their regular home.
Yeah. It's sad when I see some of these places getting, bulldozed down, something else put there.
Or renovated and turned into something else.
Or that.
There's a great place in Massachusetts, in Middleborough, the Oliver House. And the Oliver House is a beautiful little place that I've had a lot of great experiences that actually confronted, well, I shouldn't say confronted, but actually communication with a Pukwudgie
Oh,
at that particular, or at least it seemed like it was that. I was thinking more, it was more of a Native American, like a shaman,
yeah.
or and who could change form in the spirit realm. And that was crazy. It was like pulling me in like a moth to the flame, so to speak. It was
Wow.
out in the backyard, because the backyard has multiple levels of like shrubs and everything. It was staring at me over the hedge. And as I was walking down, it was following me, and we had eye contact. I'm like, I want to go into the woods. And my wife's like, oh, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, but I want to go into the woods. She's like, no, you don't. You're not going into the woods. But it's amazing, the energies, and I think you're going to enjoy when you actually go out and do your investigations. And it's kind of a it's a great rush to go out there and check out. I mean, you're obviously into history, so checking out the history of these locations and possibly interacting with the spirits who are there and getting their stories.
Yeah.
I like to.
Okay.
I consider myself a paranormal communicator. I don't consider myself a paranormal investigator. I'm not investigating anything. I'm a communicator. I go there. I like to talk to the spirits who are there, hear their stories. I like to hear what's going on with them. I like to make a connection with the energies. I'm not investigating them. I'm not a police officer. What am I investigating? What am I investigating them for? To me, investigating it doesn't work for me. So that's why I came up with the term paranormal communicator. That way it more encompasses how I like to go about when I go into a place. I like to directly talk to them and hear the stories. And they're people just like us, for the most part. They have good days, they have bad days, and that's how I approach it. So,
yeah. One of the things that, with my upcoming investigation, I'm teaming with the Misfits Paranormal crew, and they like to go in not knowing the history. They don't want to know anything about the location. With me, I'm kind of the opposite. I like to know the history, but I think it'll be interesting to see what they can capture
Yeah.
based on the history I know about Wildwood, and see with them going in blind. That's kind of really has me excited too.
Wildwood was a wild ride. Honestly, I will say, energy wise, it's just a shade under Hinsdale, and Hinsdale is probably one of the strongest energy locations I have ever felt. And Wildwood was definitely just one shade below it.
Yeah.
I saw multiple figures moving around. I mean, multiple like dolls moving and stuff like that. It does not hold back. That place is definitely amazing.
Well, I'm not a fan of dolls, so I don't sure how much I see. I know there's a doll room there.
Oh, it's a good one.
I will go in and confront my, I don't scare easy.
That's okay.
One funny story was my daughter last year, because I considered going to the main Paracon last year. And
you should go, man. It's a hell.
I want to. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to this year. Maybe. It's still a maybe right now. But last year, I was trying to convince my daughter to go, because she usually goes with me when I go places.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Annabelle's going to be there. And she was like, nope, not going. I don't want to be anywhere near her.
I didn't meet Annabelle there, but I have met Annabelle 3 times in the past.
Yeah.
At various events. Amazing energy from that doll. It depends on the situation. Like the very first time I met her, the energy was off the Richter scale. And then when the subsequent couple of times that I did, it was in a more public setting, definitely. And I think the energy was just different because there was just so many other artifacts in the room with her. And, how some artifacts can draw off of others, some of them don't want to be in the room with other ones. It's kind of like people. Artifacts are like people, You can put 2 of them in a room. These look great being next to each other, but they freaking hate each other, and they start doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And you gotta put certain ones in certain areas so you can keep the flow of the energy going right. The main Paranormal and Horror Con last year, I actually spoke on a panel with Nate Lowell, my friend Russ Stiver, Christina Spencer, and Adam Began. And this year, I'm going to be reprising on a panel as well this year. I'm not sure who else is going to be on the panel as of now, but it's an amazing event. It's a great time, and I have more to do this year because I get to go network. I'm going to work on trying to pull in a bunch of people for the show, possibly get some live promos on camera. If I possibly can pull off some of those, that'd be kind of fun too. I'm all about just having a good time with all of this, honestly. Get a chance to sit here and talking to you, and doing my own thing now, which is, I don't know about you, but when you're a host, it's a whole different bundle of nerves than it is when you're actually a guest.
Oh, it's different.
The energy is different. Totally different.
I'm actually the one con that I am going to, the Vermont Horror Sci-Fi or Fantasy and Sci-Fi Expo in April.
Wow.
That one I'm going to. Nate's going to be there as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to have a booth. I'm not selling anything. I'm just going to be there promoting my channel and the podcast. And I'm supposed to do a panel or 2.
Where is that?
It's just outside of Burlington, Vermont.
Okay. It's a 3.5, 4-hour drive. Nice.
And they're actually, the event person, Jeff, is going to be coming on to do an interview with me. I think it'll probably be towards the end of March, beginning of April.
That's awesome.
I'm excited. It'll be my first kind of Paracon. It's a smaller one, but I'm going to get.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, and I'm going to meet Nate and Morgan. I'm very excited about that.
They're awesome people. They're really awesome people.
Christina might be there.
Okay.
She said that she might be going, so I'm really excited about that weekend, and I've been sharing all their stuff and trying to promote it as much as I can, because there's not a lot of them around where I am. So it's about an hour and a half for me. They're excited, and they've been nothing but nice. I reached out to them, and they got right back to me and everything, and I think it's gonna be a good event. Adam Barry's gonna be there. He's one of the main attractions, and I'm trying to
Hopefully.
remember. There's some from I always mess up the show, sci-fi Battlestar Galactica, maybe. I could be
Yeah,
messing this up, but
that's okay.
anyway, it's gonna be a good event, I think.
It sounds like fun.
I think we're actually we're a little bit over our
Yeah, I guess it ended up like that. Yeah.
no, that's perfectly fine. I did want to wrap up things. Can you just kind of, if you want to promote your show, if you have any upcoming additional events or any projects, feel free to let everyone know and where they can find you.
You can find me on social media, Facebook, Jeremy Cotter. I'm also on Instagram, Yodaman1973. I have TikTok as well that's linked in somewhere along the way. I'm also seen on the All Access Network through my brand new show, Twisted Tales, every Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I got to put the Eastern Standard Time in there because sometimes people will check it out from different areas, but
Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time, you know what? And I plan on going to multiple events. I'm going to try to get to multiple events this year. My main one is going to be the main paranormal and horror convention that my great friends, Jeff and Ashley, they're the co-owners of that particular event. I look forward to going there and possibly some other ones along the way. I think there's one in New Hampshire I'm looking at possibly going to visit. I'd love to go to Vermont, but it might be a little bit too long of a drive to go back and forth in the course of one day. And that 8 hours round trip might be a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, just anybody who wants to reach out, you can find me through I'm working on possibly putting together a Twisted Tales Facebook page as well, so I can put a direct link and have people contact the show directly through that, possibly put up old episodes and get stuff rolling like that. It's a brand new show. It's on a great network, and I'm looking forward to bringing people as many great guests and good content as can possibly be put out there. So.
That's great. Well, and I'll put all your links in the description below as well so that everyone can check that out. I thank you for coming on. It's been a blast. We went down a few different rabbit holes tonight.
Hey, you gotta love chasing rabbits.
Oh yeah. And a huge thank you for joining tonight and sharing your knowledge on the many things that we went over. Make sure you check out Twisted Tales on All Access Television. New episodes every Wednesday night, 9:30 Eastern. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into some Massachusetts hauntings and many other things, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. We've got some incredible guests lined up, exploring where history and the paranormal collide. What's your favorite Massachusetts haunted location? Drop your comment below. Remember, history never truly dies. It just finds new ways to haunt us. Until next time, keep digging into the darkness.
Thank you.